Well, Joe Maddon is gone. Phil Nevin is in. John and I will tell you why it didn't work with Joe and who will work as the manager of the Halos, plus your fan reaction, and we're going to recap that terrible game last night. You're Locked On with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks so much for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Those listening on the audio side, you can rate and review the pod. It helps people find it. And if you're watching on the video side, you can subscribe and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's episode is brought to you by BlueNile.com. Make your moments sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Angel listeners, they get $50 off a $500 purchase or more. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON at checkout.
Hey, thanks for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels. You got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Well, it finally happened, Michael. We dismissed Joe Maddon as the manager of the Los Angeles Angels, and here we are the next day after Phil Nevin's first game. But the news was a big one. I had a busy day on Tuesday. I was on Locked On MLB. I'm doing Locked On Sports. So you're going to see my face all over the place if you're keeping up with all this news, everybody.
Yeah, it's too bad it was for terrible news. It wasn't for good news, right? That's why I'm in the tank top tonight, because I'm over it. I'm not wearing Angel jerseys until
Mike has
we
just
actually
clearly given up.
I have given up. My life is over. Well, okay, so Joe Maddon was relieved of his managerial duties.
Yes.
And Phil Nevin was named as the interim.
Yes.
So here's some background on Phil. He managed the Class AA Erie Seawolves and the AAA Toledo Mud Hens in the Tigers organization.
Gotta love those names.
And yeah, I should probably have read the script before I read it. And then he joined the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2014, and he managed the Reno Aces, and then he returned to the major leagues to coach with the Giants in 2017 and for the Yankees from 2018 to 2021. And then, of course, he joined the Angels this year, and he is their third base coach. And we knew that this was going to happen. Yeah. You and I talked about it. I think fans knew it was going to happen. John, why didn't it work with Joe?
Joe Maddon just didn't show any sense of urgency during this losing streak. You and I've repeated these talking points a million times, but there's three key things. He blew it in those close games where really it should have been a 4-8 stretch, not an 0-12 stretch.
Right.
And I've said this many times, 4-8 is okay. 0-12 gets you fired.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So bullpen management, bringing in guys, overcomplicating things. And we'll talk about Phil Nevin a little bit later, because there were some things that I really liked in what I saw. Pulling starters and exhausting the bullpen. We know how good this bullpen can be, Mike, and we've seen it. And they have a track record of being really good. And I think that was another issue. The other issue is, what sort of lineup changes did Joe Maddon make to fix this? Nothing really happened, honestly. Yeah. We brought up Joe Adell out of necessity because Taylor Ward was hurt. But honestly, Joe Adell should have been up a lot sooner because Taylor Ward was hurt a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And you know, that was an urgent move. It wasn't a, hey, let's get a guy to start a fire up here.
Right.
And I think the other thing is his laissez-faire attitude. I think that we all kind of joked about the way he interacted with Sam Blum on Monday night, but the fact that he got so defensive and says, what do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? Well, it was a simple question. It was, hey, are they competing the way that you want them to right now? And he had three simple answers. Yes, or no, I'd like to see more of, or no, I'd like to see less of this, right? Like,
yep.
It wasn't a complicated issue. And I've noticed Joe getting a little bit snippy. I even saw Perry kind of get a little bit snippy with our beat writers.
Right.
And credit to Sam Blum for actually asking questions that the Angel fans want to hear. I mean, Sam Blum, you got to remember, the beat writers are not Angel fans. They're not like you and us. And they may like the Angels, but they're not huge fans. They're covering a team. And fortunately, they're covering a very interesting team with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and the way that they started. But again, we have very low expectations coming into this season. You and I kind of felt like, hey, there's a third wild card spot. We can get that spot. This is easy.
Sure.
But the fact that we started out so hot, I think set a really high bar where it was like, hey, look at these Halos competing with some of the best teams in the league. And we're in first place. And this is really great. Now we're tied for first. Oh, we're just a little bit behind the Astros. That should have never gone away. And I don't think that there's anything that we can look at to credit Joe Maddon with other than saying Taylor Ward is the guy in the outfield. And I also believe that this is the year to win. This is the year to accomplish something because you have that third wild card spot. A lot of people pegged us to go 82 and 80. Yeah. Well, that seems more realistic now with this losing streak.
Yeah.
But I think you and I have watched many Angel teams and see them outperform their expectations. And I think that this team could and still can outperform those expectations. We just got to turn the ship around.
Yeah. I don't know if Joe wasn't Perry's guy. It felt like he wasn't Perry's guy, but it seemed like Perry maybe wants somebody that is going to have some camaraderie with him. Now, Joe was surprised. He said he was surprised by this release yesterday and that they had some good interactions. The one thing that I did notice in his interview was that he said that some of the analytics he's not a fan of and not really wanting to implement. And that was the same issue when DePoto was there and Mike Scioscia was the manager. There was a tension on how they're going to approach the game. And Perry is the guy that wants to approach the game with analytics. And so it didn't feel like we were kind of maybe unsure about that. But I think that this move opens up an opportunity for Perry to find his guy, to which I would ask you, who's Perry's guy then? Who do you think he is?
It's Phil Nevin until the end of the year. And I got to say, Phil Nevin led the Diamondbacks AAA team, the Reno Aces, to their best record in 2014.
Yeah.
And he's the only one with managerial experience. And I think that they wanted a stern voice. And Nevin is the only one who's managed before or to a extreme level that actually makes sense for him to step in.
Yeah.
Because Ray Montgomery's bench coaching for the first time. He's an office guy. He was a scout before for the Brewers.
Right.
And you and I have said many times that Ray Montgomery is probably Perry's guy. We've seen this kind of situation before where guys kind of get groomed into a position and take over eventually. But as far as Phil Nevin goes, I think it's a total attitude shift. And Perry did a good job of being very diplomatic during his press conference. He didn't outright blame Joe. He said, we're all responsible. But then he kind of did say that some of the decisions on the field were not the kind of good fundamental baseball decisions that they need to be making.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got Joe in trouble. Now, I don't know who would be out there in terms of Perry picking his next guy. If it's not going to be a Ray Montgomery, I think Phil Nevin is a fine choice to get us through. And I think that based on what we saw in the game, I think that he made some good decisions on Tuesday night that I am looking forward to seeing how it works out.
Yeah.
But I have to say that when it comes to Perry, I mean, he's got all kinds of connections with some very talented people. He's brought in a lot of people that he's worked with over the course of his career in terms of working at the Braves and being an assistant GM there. He's brought a lot of talent into this organization.
Right.
And the fact that he called Artie and made his recommendation on Tuesday morning and Artie accepted it. I mean, maybe that doesn't happen before a 12-game losing streak, but it certainly did happen. And maybe Artie is becoming less involved. Maybe he actually trusts his GM for a change.
Yeah. Well, no matter what he does and no matter who's in that managerial seat, this is just so hard to watch. And I know that Angel fans are struggling. I know that you've reached out to us, and I know that I've had friends personally reach out to me. Some of them have said, I don't know if I'm gonna watch for a while, right? Because it's just been so frustrating. In fact, on Wednesday, my family and I had planned on perhaps going to the game to celebrate that school's out. We've decided not to. We're going to go out to dinner, right? Because it's just hard to watch. And so I just want to affirm to the Angel fans, like, yes, this is hard. And yes, this isn't fun. And yes, we can be frustrated.
Yeah.
And maybe we need like a maybe we need like a spa day. Maybe we need like a pause day, right?
They
Let
owe
this
us.
be your therapy right now. And then the rest of the day, you just take deep breaths. Remember
Yeah.
Karate Kid? Like in through the nose and out through the mouth, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Because this is really frustrating. And you and I both know that it's hard to like engage, and it's hard to cheer. It's hard to watch the games because it's hard to watch your favorite team and your favorite players fall apart.
Well, let me tell you that I'm not terribly upset that we lost on Tuesday. In fact, I encourage you guys to go to the game because you might be the streak snappers. I thought about going on Tuesday and bringing my good luck to the Big A. But let me tell you, I'm not quite upset about this game, and I have my reasons that we'll get into later. But I think that we need to temper the expectation of, hey, I know the Phillies released Joe Girardi, and they've won 5 in a row. Well, 3 of those games were against us, and we were terrible.
Right.
So I think that it would be great if we had gotten that win last night, but I think that we just need to remain calm. I know that it's a single season record, 13, and I know that we didn't come out strong. I mean, we got Manfred ghost runned again, which is what always happens to us.
Yeah.
But we'll save that for a little bit later on. But we want to get into your fan reactions. You guys sent us a ton of voicemails, and we're looking forward to getting into that.
Yeah, coming up, we're going to talk all about what you want to talk about. But first, Locked On Angels is brought to you by BlueNile.com, Jonathan.
That's right. BlueNile.com is the original online jeweler. Since 1999, Michael, they've helped millions
and millions
of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Blue Nile is committed to ensuring that the highest ethical standards are observed when they source their diamonds and jewelry. And if it's not perfect, no problem. They have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Where else are you going to get that? 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Nowhere.
Shop stress-free with guaranteed free shipping and returns. And if you need your special purchase fast, in most cases, Blue Nile can deliver overnight. So if you forgot a gift, you forgot a birthday, you forgot an anniversary, they got your back. Every order is insured and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And listeners, Locked On Angels listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. Use the code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout to take advantage of that special offer. So go to BlueNile.com today.
And this is Locked On Angels, and we appreciate you making it your first listen of the day. And we do have an important favor to ask of you. We've put together a survey so that we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and what you don't like about Locked On Podcasts. So go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. Won't take very long. Everyone that completes a survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take the survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey, and we thank you for your help.
All right, we're going to get into some listener voicemails who have given us a call. If you want to give us a call and share your thoughts, of course, 714-409-6396 is the phone number. That's in the episode description. I tried to whittle down all of the phone calls that we got into the main ideas. So we got a lot of voicemails. There's a lot of voicemails,
Yes.
But let's go to our very first one right now.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is Nick out of Seattle. I'm calling just after the news about Joe Maddon getting fired. Man, as if we couldn't get any lower than a 12-game losing streak, we lose our manager in the middle of the season. Just a little bit down in the dumps, to say the least. I'm wondering what you guys think is a bit of optimism for this franchise right now. I mean, obviously we have 2 of the best players in baseball, which is always nice, but, you know, to see us struggle this much after such an optimistic and exciting start is so deflating. And then to see our manager get kicked to the curb rather, just makes things even more difficult as a fan right now. So I'm wondering what you guys think is the most, what can we be optimistic about? Is this a change that we needed right now? Was this the specific change that you think is going to make us the franchise that we were 12 games ago? I'm just curious. Love the work you guys do. Love the optimism you guys share. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks, guys.
Nick from Seattle, thank you for your voicemail, and thanks for being a listener and encouraging what we do here at Locked On Angels. Mike, what do you think about Nick from Seattle's thoughts?
Nick, you're in Seattle, so there's a great team called the Mariners that you can root for. All right, fully serious here. I get that it's hard to be optimistic. I think that we can be optimistic about what Perry will do in the offseason. I get that we still have a huge season ahead of us, but what Perry will do in the offseason, particularly who they bring in, and I don't know if it'll be Phil Nevin, but who they bring in, that could be exciting for us. And here's the thing, this team is good, and they have just, the wheels have fallen off. And so I think that we're going to see them rebound. I don't think that we're going to see the strong Angel team that we saw at the beginning of the year, 10 games over 500. But I know that we are going to rebound, and we might be floating around the 500 mark, which is, I get it, it's annoying. But what we're going to see is a strong team for the rest of the season. And I'm hopeful that maybe we can slide into that final playoff spot. That's the thing that I think that we can be really optimistic about. Mm-hmm. We don't have to pass the Astros, and we don't have to beat the Yankees. What we need to do is just get into that final playoff spot and get hot at the right time. And if we can get hot the rest of June and maybe get hot at the end of August and the beginning of September, you never know what could happen. The Kansas City Royals are an example of that, when they got really hot in 2014 and swept us and found themselves in the World Series. And then the next year they were actually in the World Series and won. And so I think that those are the things that we could potentially see with this team. Remember, the 0-2 team was 6-14, and then they went on a run that was remarkable. I don't know if this team has got that in them, but I think that those are the things that are crossing my mind right now that keeps me hopeful as we root for the Angels.
Yeah, I have hope, and I have hope because somebody is going to use this team correctly. I think that whatever was happening at the beginning of the season, Joe Maddon got away from it. I mean, you and I complained a lot, pulling starters too early. What did we see? We saw Phil Nevin go out there and ask Suarez, you want to get this last one? There you go. And we'll dive into that a little bit later, because that was a statement right there.
Yep.
And I am encouraged by the fact that we lost because of the Manfred Ghost Runner. And I liked the bullpen management. I like that these guys came in with clean innings. You might be upset about what happened with Ryan Tepera, but the guy came in with a clean inning, got himself into trouble, gave up the lead, and it was tied, and got himself out of trouble.
Yeah.
And I feel like Phil Nevin is more capable of handling this team in a way that you and I and everyone listening will enjoy. And I am already encouraged by that. I'm optimistic because this team in the right hands is something special. And I think that Joe lost sight of that, and his kind of unwillingness to do anything about it when they are struggling. I mean, even his reaction in his interview of, I'm just so surprised. I mean, 10 days ago, we were the hot team. It's like, well, yes, Joe, but baseball happened.
Yeah.
And you didn't adjust. You
Right.
didn't adjust at all.
Right.
So those are my thoughts. So Nick, we hope that you can be encouraged by that, and give us a call anytime. Let's go to another voicemail right now.
Hey guys, this is Steve from Kansas, probably one of the only Angels fans in Kansas. Listen, the Maddon news came out today, and I know you guys wanted this to happen, and I agree. He should have been let go. I just question doing it now when there's so much season left, and I know he wasn't making the calls you guys wanted him to make, and I agree. But isn't this kind of like the same thing we were faulting him for, just on a macro scale? He was pulling his pitchers too early in the game, not giving them a chance to right the ship. And it's June 7th, there's still a lot of baseball left. Isn't this kind of, pot calling the kettle black? I don't know, couldn't Artie or Perry, if you think it was Perry, have given him more time to right the ship? Anyway, just my thoughts. You guys are doing a great job on the podcast. Keep it up. All right. Bye.
Steve from Kansas, thank you for the voicemail, man. You make a great point. On a macro level, the same kind of thing happened to Joe Maddon, which he was doing to our starting pitchers, yanking him too soon. But I have to say, June 7th, the day that he was let go, is the perfect day to do it. because there's over 100 games left in this season.
Yeah.
If you wait any longer, I think that you're wasting time and you're spinning your wheels. I think that over this stretch, this losing streak, Joe didn't show any enthusiasm or forward thinkingness in terms of riding the ship. I think he was kind of riding it out, honestly. And I think that because we didn't see any lineup changes, we didn't see any players get called up or anybody sent down, it felt like Joe was okay with this happening. And I understand, like Mike, you and I said a few weeks ago, Perry's probably really frustrated with this situation. And it didn't help with Joe being so cavalier in his responses and in his questions and in the way that he handled things. So honestly, Steve, I think that right now is the best time for the Halos to make a change. And if it works or it doesn't work, I'm just glad they made a change, because I don't think Joe Maddon was taking any initiative to right the ship. And I hear you. I totally understand. Like, doesn't it seem kind of quick? And sure, it can feel quick, but like I said, if he's not showing any indication that he's going to help the situation, then I think it's time to make a change. And like I said earlier, if you put this team in the right hands with 100 games left to play, I think we're going to be okay. And I think that we can get a third wild card spot. But Mike, what do you think?
I think that Perry had to make a move because nothing was being done. And I just affirm what you just said, because you have to do something. You can't lose this many games in a row and just keep fighting with the media and keep saying that we're doing all of the right things. We're just not having the right results. You can't keep doing that.
There's probably a lot of things we didn't see. I know that there was word that they didn't take BP on some of the days on the road trip. And
yeah,
it's like, really, guys? Like, if I heard that as the GM, I'd be very upset, because like, hey, your bats are kind of the worst thing happening right now.
Sure.
And then you would have games where they explode 10, 11, you know, that kind of thing. What were you going to say?
We just don't know what was said behind the scenes, right? And because Perry is so diplomatic, which I appreciate, I will give him that. Even Trout, so diplomatic, like I didn't make this decision and it was, you know, it's tough. And that's what he said. And even Maddon, he didn't really give too much insight except like he was surprised. But so we don't know if there was tension and what the conversations were, except Maddon did say there were some daily conversations and things like that, but we don't have too much information of what was happening behind the scenes. But you have to assume that there were plenty of conversations taking place.
Yeah.
And I wonder if decisions based on analytics weren't being made. I wonder if decisions based upon how we're going to use the bullpen weren't being made. You know, I just don't know how much of that dynamic was influencing here, but something needed to happen. And outside of getting rid of Joe, I just don't know what else would have been a fire starter. Bringing up a minor league guy isn't going to be a game changer for the Angels. They needed something that would say, hey, fellas, this isn't who we are. This isn't the team that we put together. Something's got to change. And guess what? Your lack of performance, it lost Joe Maddon his job.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go one more voicemail before we end this segment. Here we go.
What's going on, guys? It's Rob Foreman. So the Angels fired Joe Maddon. What do you guys think is going to replace him? Might be time to get maybe Weaver on the phone, see if he'll step up. But I mean, I think it was coming in. I think it's about time, and hope that things start changing. But it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I hope we don't rebuild it. I think we should continue to try to win now. I mean, we got these guys, Shohei and Mike Trout, in the prime of their careers. I think they should go all in, keep it going. You know, no one likes to rebuild. So yeah, let's go Halos, man.
Rob. I love Rob.
He's my favorite person.
Rob. I want to hang out with Rob. Hey, Rob, thank you for the voicemail. And yes, thank you for taking care of the Weaver reference in this episode. Ding.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Weaver as a coach on this team, man? Talk about fire and fury and sternness, man.
We'd have to wash everybody's mouth out with soap if he was.
But I like the passion that Weaver would bring. But to Rob's point, I think that we still have a chance to win this season. I still think that this is a good team. I still think that we have the right pieces in play. Look, we had a rough night on Tuesday. Jared Walsh went 0 for 5. That's not normal Jared Walsh.
Yeah.
And I thought that he was the right guy in that 9th inning. I was like, he'll hit one over the fence and win the game for us. And it just didn't happen. And I think that he's hustled this entire time. And so just I'm going on a tangent about Walsh, but all that to say, I think that we have the right pieces. We still do. Nothing's really changed other than Ward's a little bit hurt, Rendon's a little bit hurt, but we'll have them back soon. And we'll pick up where we left off. I think the guy making the decisions was not making the right decisions. And now if Nevin can prove to make the right choices, then I think that we have somewhere to go for sure.
Where we're at the end of June will be, I think, the determination on if this is going to be a rebuild or if the Angels are actually going to be in the playoff run, because usually statistics show your record at the end of June is a great indication as to where you end up. I also think where they end up at the All-Star break is going to matter as well. And so if we are at 500 or a couple of games over 500 at that point, I will personally be more hopeful. But if we're not, then I do think, and Rob, you and I probably would disagree on this, but I do think that that's a moment where the Angels need to pull the plug and make some key, I think, drastic decisions with this team, because this is now year 7 or year 8 that we're just kind of floating around the 500 mark, and that's unacceptable.
Yeah. And the thing is too, is we're not very far behind the competition for that wild card spot.
Yeah.
So look, going back to our first voicemail, I think now is the perfect time to pull the trigger on this team and let them go and see what happens. And then kind of, check those rest stops along the way. Like you said, June, All-Star break, that sort of thing, trade deadline, see where we're at and see what we need to do. So let's do that.
I wonder if the Angels need Athletic Greens. Maybe that would help them, which is actually the sponsor of our episode today. We all want to be healthy, better gut health. Thank you. More energy, optimized immune system, but we don't want to take pills and vitamins every single day. That's annoying. So what do? This is where Athletic Greens can actually help. Athletic Greens, or AG1, is a supplement that actually tastes great. It has a mild tropical taste that you'll actually look forward to each morning. So why AG1? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, adaptogens to help you start your day. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, your recovery, your focus, your aging, all of it. AG1 costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than that cold brew habit. And I'm calling you out, John, again. And it's healthier too, actually. So go to athleticgreens.com and start choosing better health today. And they're going to help you out. When you order today, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So all you got to do is go to athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership of your health today.
The Angels are making my nervous system and my aging and my focus go out the window. So I think that we could all use some AG1.
Yes.
I bet we could. And speaking of BetOnline is also today's sponsor.
Well done.
Check out betonline.net for your #1 source for all your betting stats and sports info. Find all of the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's NBA playoffs, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, of course, and all the latest fighting news and MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts.
Well, we know the Angels fired Joe. We know that Phil's the manager, and then we know they played a game last night, and we know that they lost, and we've talked about that. You all know that. But before we talk about the game, let's just mention Mike Trout for a moment, because Trout had a double. He had a home run. He looked great. And then somebody pulled out the voodoo doll and poked holes in it again. And so he had some groin tightness, and he didn't want to come out of the game. But as soon as he called the trainer out, and then Phil came out,
they yanked him.
You could tell, like, that's not a good sign. And then when he started walking off the field, you could just hear the air in the whole stadium go out, right?
Come on.
And the good news was that Joe Adell actually came in, and he looked great. RBI double. He was fired up at that. He had a great catch in right field. The only problem was we had a chance to actually take the lead in the game, and it would have been Mike Trout's spot because they intentionally walked Ohtani.
Yeah.
But it was Joe Adell.
Yeah.
And so that was so frustrating. And again, it's our boy, it's our guy. And I don't know what the prognosis will be for him. I would anticipate he's not in the game today, but man, it was one of those games where we got off to such a great start.
I know,
and
so
it
much
looked
momentum.
as if we were going to maybe win this game, and then it's just so frustrating as a fan when you're like, this would have been Mike Trout's spot. Like this, they wouldn't have walked Shohei, and right, like, and then the thing that really frustrated me about last night was the defense. Velasquez is in there for his defense. We all know that.
Right.
But his throwing error in the third, and then when he threw high to first, throwing error in the second, and then threw high in the third. Like, dude, you can't do that.
No.
Right? Like, he almost needs to be perfect.
The only thing bringing you to the dance is your defense. And if you can't do that right, which seems like he's not been himself and quite as sharp in the last week or so.
Yeah.
Then I don't think he's in the lineup.
No, he can't be in the lineup, and he's got to stop swinging for the fences. So we've talked about that before.
I know.
But the other thing that I hate, can I just go on record right now and say I hate the shift?
Yes.
The shift is terrible. It's awful.
I was upset that it might be gone next season, but now I'm like, get rid of it.
No, because there has never been a time, I can't even think of a time. If I'm wrong about this, Angel fans, then like call me out. But I can't think of a time where it's helped us once, right? And because in that, I think it was the second inning, Boston didn't hit the ball hard at all, but we scored
got
3 runs
again.
Yes, I'm just that is so frustrating. I hate the shift, and we need to stop doing that. That it sucks. So let's just stop doing that, right?
All right, Mr. Negative.
No. I'm sorry. Typically, I'm just so positive, but you know what? You can be the positive, and I'm going to represent everybody else, all the Angel fans.
I got a light colored shirt on. You got a dark colored shirt on. That's what's happening.
You know what my soul looks like. That's
we're the devil and angel on the shoulders of all of the Locked On Angels listeners. Listen, Angel fans, if you're with me, just comment below if you're watching this on YouTube and be like, Mike, I'm with you, and I know you're with me. Come on. Listen, there were some things that I really liked about last night, and the reason why I'm not upset about our 13th loss is because it doesn't feel as hopeless anymore. And one of those key moments, which I mentioned earlier, was Phil Nevin basically saying, I'm not Joe Maddon.
Yeah.
He came out, and Jose Suarez had one batter left. In fact, it was Trevor Story who has heated up since the last time we saw him. He struck out Trevor freaking Story. Nevin came out, said, hey, you got this? And I almost lost it because I thought he was going to pull him.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, what's going to happen here? And he gave him a pound on the chest and went back. And Mike, I have never seen Jose Suarez show emotion like he did when he got that final strikeout. And then the camera panned over to Phil, and he was like, yeah.
Yep.
And that, to me, tells me everything I need to know about what Phil Nevin is going to do with his team. He gave each relief pitcher a clean inning to start with to let them work through and fight through. I know Tepera caused it to be a tie game, and of course that's frustrating.
Yeah.
But I have to say, he got into the situation and Nevin let him get out of the situation, because anybody else comes in, it's still going to end up being a tie game. You know what I mean? And so I just really appreciated that we got to see guys finish an inning and start with a clean inning. So Jose Suarez, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 walks, 3 Ks, 91 pitches. So for him to return and not have pitched since like late May, I think this is a really impressive outing. And I love that Phil Nevin allowed him to finish that inning. And I also like the way he handled the end of the game. I understand that, again, we got Manfred ghost runnered, and that always seems to be the case when we lose these extra inning games. But I like the decision to bring in Jaime Barria, because if you tie up the game, you have a guy who can give you some length. Heck, I even like going to Kurt Suzuki because they had a lefty on the mound and Brandon Marsh was the next batter. And we just saw Jared Walsh get struck out, and Walsh and Marsh kind of have a similar profile when it comes to lefty pitchers.
Right.
And Kurt Suzuki, honestly, he's a patient hitter. He will take a walk, and if he hits a Zook nuke into the corner, then that's going to score Joe Adell. I understand it was a ground out, but I think that we just need to all remain calm in terms of we're not going to be like the Phillies were, because they were playing a really crappy team in the Angels.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's turn the page. And I really love how Nevin is handling this team. Nevin ending story.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Well, I love the bro hug at the end with
Yes.
Jose Suarez. Like, you could tell that there was like a moment there, and I hope that the same thing happens today because it's Reed Detmer's day.
Detmer's Day.
He's my
Happy
boy,
Detmer's Day.
and he can be the one that breaks the streak. I think today. Let me go on record. All right, I'm going to be positive.
This is it.
It's over today.
It's over today.
It's over today. We're getting
Especially
a
if you
victory
go to the
today.
game.
We're getting a victory. We didn't buy tickets, but it's over today.
That's okay. They're like $5 right now.
We're not going, but it's over today.
It's over
all right?
today.
John, you jumped on the Locked On MLB podcast with Sully. How was that? That seemed like
That
it
was
fun.
great. I really enjoyed my time with Paul Francis Sullivan, but please call him Sully. He's going to bring his humor, his passion, and unique perspective on every team, the biggest stories around the league, like firing Joe Maddon. So follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB. It's on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. You're going to hear me. You're going to see me on there. We had a great conversation, and I was able to explain to somebody who watches the entire league why this needed to happen.
You can actually follow us on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and you can connect with John and I on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros. And the reason why we love that you follow us is we love to interact with you, and we'd love to let you know about what we're talking about tomorrow. And tomorrow on Locked On Angels, we know that it wasn't all Joe's fault, right?
Sure.
John and I are actually going to talk about each person who was responsible for this losing streak, and we're going to hold them accountable.
That's your screen grab right there.
There
That's
it
your
is.
Thumbnail. All right, y'all. Until tomorrow, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
And thanks for joining us for this edition of Locked On Angels, and we will see you tomorrow.